Hello and welcome to TempWorks Training. In this section, we will introduce and discuss HRCenter Admin and delve into the Form Builder. This training will cover all questions posed within the related quiz. Please take the quiz immediately after the training. All right, let's begin. I've begun by logging into HRCenter Administration. Not every user is going to have an HRCenter Admin login, so if you can't get logged in, check with your system administrator before contacting TempWorks support. Your login will be the same as your enterprise login. The main purpose of HRCenter administration is for you to be able to build and design your own workflows, that process that the applicants go through. Now, in previous trainings, I've described enterprise as being a waterfall where information flows right from the employee record into the order and the assignment, and information from the customer record flows into the order and the assignment, and that all flows into our back office module, right? It's that very organic waterfall. HRCenter administration is kind of similar. We're going to have that waterfall effect, only we're going to start all the way down at the bottom. So that final product in enterprise is the assignment. Our final product in HRCenter admin is really the workflow. That's the end goal. So a big trap that a lot of users fall into is they just want to start by making a new workflow. And it makes sense, but in order for us to really have a successful workflow, we have to start by customizing the different types of pages that we're going to have. And in order to really be able to customize the pages, we may need to build surveys and custom forms. So similar concept. In this case, though, we're going to start down here and we're going to work our way up to the workflows. Today, we'll begin by taking a look at the Form Builder. And that's going to take place in a three-step process. First, we're going to build that form in Form Builder, then we're going to turn it into a page, and then we'll be able to attach it to a workflow. I'll begin by selecting Forms. More often than not, forms are usually going to be something that an applicant or an employee has to sign and date. So think about things like the I-9, the W-4, maybe a direct deposit form, a health insurance enrollment form, a drug screen acknowledgement form, an employee handbook, right? Things like that. In today's example, we're going to create an insurance enrollment form. I'm going to start by selecting the new icon in the upper right-hand corner, and then I'm just going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. I've got lots and lots of test forms in my HRCenter admin. I would be impressed if you had as many as I do. But once you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see your newest form. I'm going to go ahead and select that, and let's name our form. I'm going to call it our June insurance enrollment. And let's just copy and paste that into all of these. The only time you'll need to worry about selecting something within that post-fill procedure dropdown is if you are creating a direct deposit form. Otherwise, you can leave this blank. Before I select to edit the form, I'm going to click to save. And even though it says new form right here, we'll actually see it did save my changes, and this is our June insurance enrollment form. So now let's select to edit. So this is taking me into the Form Builder, and right now it's wanting me to drop an image here. Now when it says image, it really truly does mean drop an image here. This is not going to be the spot for any PDFs, so you'll want to make sure that any files you're uploading are saved as image files. Think of a JPEG or a PNG file. I'll choose my files, and I have a test form here. And that's uploaded my form for me. So now on the left-hand side, I have a toolbox. So this is what I'm going to use to actually make my form interactive. Right now, you and I can see exactly how the form has to be filled out. But computers aren't quite smart enough yet that they can read this and determine exactly what needs to go where. So we're going to help it out by taking something like a text option from my toolbox, dragging it and dropping it into the form, and then stretching it to meet whatever size I'd like. In my case, maybe I want it to take up that full space. Now, not only can we define this as a text field, we can also give this field some purpose, a value. To do that, over on the right-hand side where we have properties listed, in that name field, it currently says unmapped, but we're going to change that. Let's go ahead and map this. I'll select that field and we're going to make this a mapped name. A mapped name, when we talk about mapping, we're talking about data communication between a source and a destination. So in this example, we're communicating between Enterprise and HRCenter. I'm going to select that mapped name option and then the exact category. Let's go ahead and choose personal information. Now I'm able to select the exact field that I want to map it from. By default, every field that we have listed here is a pre-fill and post-fill field. What this means is existing information from an enterprise field automatically maps itself into the matching field within that HRCenter form. If the information within that field is updated within HRCenter, the new information is mapped back to Enterprise and automatically populated into the matching field within the Enterprise record. Unless specifically listed as pre-fill only, like in the case of the employee first and last name, all mapped fields that are added to an HRCenter form are pre- and post-filled fields. I'm going to go ahead and select the employee first and last name. We'll select OK, and we're done. Let's go through another couple examples of this. If I want to have the street address entered, I'm going to drag and drop that field into the street address section, fit it to my needs, and give this some value. So we're going to make it a mapped field. This time I'll choose the address category and the employee address. Now you'll notice that in this case, I'm not choosing the pre-fill only field. So as a reminder, if the employee already has an address saved to their employee record, this field will already be filled for me when I come to the form. If I change my address from HRCenter, it's also going to update my address within Enterprise. We'll go through one more example here. And let's map it. Because I'm going to have this city, state, and zip on this field, it will be a pre-fill only field. And I'll take just a second here to add in the email address and the phone number. Let's also add in the date of birth and the social security number. Okay, and before I move on to the section where an employee gets to choose what plan they want to enroll into, I want to talk about another option, which is the ability to make any of these fields required. So it's really easy. If I wanted to make the full name required, I would simply select the required box. So let's say we're going to do the same thing for the date of birth and the SSN. Now when we move into this next section, we're giving the employee the option to enroll in one of the 3 plans that we offer or to decline coverage. I don't want them to be able to enroll in more than one plan, and I also don't want them to be able to decline coverage but also enroll in a plan. So this is where it becomes very important that we choose the correct option in our toolbox. If I were to choose the checkbox option, that would allow somebody to pick all that apply to them. So imagine if somebody asked you to select all colors that you like: green, blue, red, orange, pink, purple. I could choose multiple. That really describes the checkbox option, choose all that apply to you. Whereas the radio box option would be choose the one that best applies to you. So in that example, I might say, of all of these colors, select your favorite. Purple or pink or green or blue or red or orange or yellow, right? We're only able to select one. So in this case, that's the option I'm going to go with. I only want somebody to be able to select one option So I'm going to add these as radio buttons. And to begin, I'm just going to add a radio button for every single plan that we offer here. In this case, I don't have to worry about mapping any data, but I do want to make sure that they're only able to select one. What I have to do next is tell HRCenter that all 4 of these belong together. So somebody should only be able to select one of these 4. This becomes especially important for any forms where you might have multiple sections. Maybe they can enroll in health insurance in one section and life insurance in another, and dental in another section. So I'm going to define this group. I'm going to call this the plan group. So I select that first radio button and give the group name plan. Then I'm going to do that for all of the other options. And that's how I'm really saying that these 4 pieces all belong together. You'll notice that they all have those little aqua dashes going around the border of them. So we know that they all are in fact in that same group. I also want to say here that if somebody is selecting to decline in coverage, then we really don't need their date of birth and their social security number. We only really need that if they are enrolling in the plan. So this is what we would call a dependency. What I'm going to tell HRCenter is that when somebody declines coverage, we don't want to require either of these. This is when we get into the dependencies feature. In order for dependencies to work, you need to name fields that you are interacting with. In my case, the only field I really need to worry about naming is this decline coverage option, because if we look, all of the other fields that we're working with, that date of birth field and that SSN field, already have a name. The only one that's missing that is my decline coverage. So I'll choose that name option. It's not going to be a mapped name. This time I just have to name it something, and I'm going to name it decline. And we'll choose OK. In my date of birth field, we're going to move into the dependencies section, and we'll select Add New. Here, I'm going to say when plan, my group, takes the value of decline. Now, it's incredibly crucial that you are typing in the exact same name as the field itself. So if I put decline coverage, that wouldn't work. We have to leave it as decline. So when somebody chooses to decline coverage, we want to hide the date of birth field. I don't want them to have to worry about entering that in, and it would no longer be required. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for the SSN field. In the dependencies section, we'll select the plus icon to add a new one. And again, we'll say when our group plan takes the value of decline, we want to hide this field. There are other options here, just so you're all aware, is we could make this field required, make it a read only, or clear out that value. I'll leave it as is, and that's all I have to do in that scenario. Now, lastly, I do need our employees to sign and date this field. Now remember, they're not actually going to be signing it by putting pen to paper. This is going to be signed via an electronic signature. So to do that, I'm just going to drag and drop this signature bar right into that field, and we're going to do the same thing for the date signed. Now you'll notice that we have 2 options here. We have signature and date signed, and signature to and date signed to. This is not to delineate 2 signers. This is saying if an employee's signature is needed in 2 places on one form, it would insert that signature into the 2 separate places. If you have a form that needs to be signed by 2 signers, for example, an employee and a service rep, that's accomplished in a slightly different method, which we'll be covering in just a little bit here. So now that I'm done creating my form in Form Builder, I can choose to save. And why don't we preview it to see how it looks? So here we're seeing that the name and the date of birth and SSN are all listed as required, and they will remain being required as long as I choose Plan A, Plan B, or Plan C. But as soon as I choose to decline coverage, the date of birth and SSN are now gone because of those dependencies that I added. I've previewed my form. I feel great about how it looks. So now I can go ahead and save and exit. If this form also needed to be signed by a service rep, we would have to create it again as a second form. We'll again select the new icon to create a new form. Then I'm just going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. I have my new form again. This time I'm going to call it June Insurance Enrollment, but I'm going to name it SR for Service Rep. So we're creating two forms, but when this is saved on the employee record, it's actually saved as one document. So imagine you were laying two transparencies on top of each other. That's really kind of what we're doing here. We're creating it as two forms in HRCenter admin, but the final product saves as one document on that employee's record. It's pretty cool. So we're going to go ahead and choose to edit the form. This time again, I have to drop an image here. You want to make sure that when you're doing this, you are choosing the exact same image that you chose when you originally made the form that the employee filled out. So I choose my exact same form. And this time, even though I don't really have a place for the service rep to sign, let's just pretend that it's asking them to sign above. So the service rep signature is going to go here, and the date signed by the service rep is going to go here as well. That's all I need to do in this case. I don't have to worry about setting up the rest of that. All of this was defined within the version that the employee fills out. So I'll go ahead and save and exit. Perfect. I'm now done with step one. We've created our form in Form Builder. The next step is to turn this form into a page. So we'll hop into that Pages section, and again, I'm going to choose that new icon in the upper right-hand corner. We'll go ahead and name our page. The display name is what displays out to any applicants. Here I have the option to pick what kind of page I'm making. In our example, we're going to go with the form page. I'll then select Next to move to page 2. This is where we'll define which one the applicant is filling out and which one the service rep is filling out, if any. So this is exactly why we had to make two different versions. The version that the applicant fills out is going to be June Insurance Enrollment, and the version that the service rep fills out is going to be June Insurance Enrollment SR. Localization is referring to any languages, so if you've built or have designed any forms to be in Spanish, this is where you would say, I am uploading and creating the Spanish version of this form. So when applicants choose to apply in Spanish, they get that Spanish version. I'll select Next. For the document type, here's where I'm saying this is the document type it should save to on the employee record. So when somebody finishes completing the insurance enrollment form, I want it to save under our doc type ACA documentation. If I didn't want this to actually save as a document on their employee record, I would choose the option of none, but in my case, I definitely want this to be saved, so I'm going to choose that PDF option. If this form is also going to be signed by a service rep, we have the option to say that that approver should also be uploading documents. So a great example of this might be the I-9. In my case, I'm not going to be uploading anything, so we'll leave that blank. And as far as these post-fill and pre-fill and service rep post-fill procedures go, none of us really have to worry about this. This is used almost exclusively by our internal technical TempWorks team to write custom procedures. We'll go ahead and select Next. We can select to finish. Great, so we've now added in that June enrollment form as a page, so I have the option to attach it to a workflow. In that workflow section, let's attach it to our basic application workflow. Here I can see that our basic application is broken out into two steps, the application step and onboarding. To attach it to that onboarding section, I'll choose to edit that step. We will select Next to assign different pages, And within the form section here, I'm just going to look for my June insurance enrollment form. In my final step, I'm able to say what order I want these to be completed in. And I'll leave it where it is. We'll have them do the insurance enrollment last. And we'll select the checkbox to save. So let's take a look at what this looks like for an employee. So back in Enterprise here, we have an employee, William Evans. Let's say we just want him to complete that insurance enrollment form. From the employee record, we'll expand the Actions menu, and we'll choose to assign additional HRCenter pages. I'm going to choose my workflow. And again, if we had the application in multiple languages, here I would say I'm assigning the Spanish version or the English version. We'll go ahead and select Next. And to narrow down, because I've got so many different pages and forms, to narrow this down a little bit, I'm going to choose to just show the form blocks. And there's my June insurance enrollment form. We'll select the plus icon to assign that and choose to finish. Just a reminder that whenever we assign something new to an employee, they do automatically receive an email telling them that there's something new for them to complete in HRCenter. So now it's up to William here to get logged into HRCenter and to complete that form. We'll go ahead and log in as William. Continue. So I see that there's something new for me to complete in HRCenter that's just been assigned. And sure enough, it's our June insurance enrollment form. Now what you'll see is that a lot of this information is already filled out, and that's because we already had this information in Enterprise. In fact, if we were to go to the details page of William Evans employee record, we see we already have the social and the address information. And from the Visa file, we've got that email address as well. So the only thing that I need to key in is the date of birth. However, if I'm choosing to decline that coverage, then that field no longer becomes required and the SSN is hidden as well. We'll then go ahead to save and continue, and we'll sign. And we'll click to submit. When we built this in Form Builder, we had stated that this was also going to need the review and signature of a service rep. So even though we're done with it from an applicant perspective, William is done filling all of this information out, as a service rep, we'll still need to go back into Enterprise to review and sign that document. Perfect. So we've successfully submitted our form, and that means the only work left is going to be in HRCenter. We'll make this a little bit easier for everyone to see here. And we'll go to the integration section, HRCenter, and sure enough, we see that William has submitted it and that it is going to require a signature. So I'm going to select to review and sign that document. Everything listed here is read-only, so we're never able to change any of the information that somebody submitted to us. If information did need to be changed, let's say they filled out some information wrong, we could always unlock it. That would give the applicant the ability to log back into HRCenter, recomplete the form, and submit it back to us. If everything looks good, I will choose to save and continue. And now I get to sign it. Save and continue again. And we're good. Now if we go to the document section of William's employee record, we have our June insurance enrollment form saved. We'll also see that both of our signatures are listed with our PDF time and date stamp. And that is how you use Form Builder in HRCenter Admin. Please complete the quiz before moving on to the next session. Thank you.